Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be a part of their world. We're your hosts, Jared and James, and today we're bringing on a guest to talk about the greater tabletop community and to discuss that Upper Deck lawsuit. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. Last week we did some time traveling, as our planned episode was all about the lack of news, and then bam, the Upper Deck lawsuit hit, and we couldn't pass up the opportunity to share our initial thoughts. Now, this week, we are bringing on a fan of the program and a friend of mine, Brandon Brimley of Brimley Games. Brandon, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, so good to have you on here. We were talking before you and I actually did a live stream on your platform where you played your very first game of Lorcana. How'd it go?
Well, I got a little bit steamrolled, but it was a ton of fun and makes me way more excited for the game to come out.
I know I was telling James, I was like, I saw what he played his opening hand, and I saw my opening hand, and I was like, do you want me to take this easy, or do you want me to play like hard? And you're like, give it to me with everything you got. So it really was a steamroll. I apologize.
I got 11, double digits. That's my claim to fame.
That's pretty good because I've done some of those games where I'm like, two? Just like it just did not work.
Yeah.
And I like the setup. I see all the games behind you there. See some villainous.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Got quite a few, some other Disney ones, some of the Disney attraction games they've been putting out recently.
Oh yeah. We've got at least one of those so far. I'm planning on getting the Space Mountain one. Gonna need to get that one soon. So
yeah, they're all a ton of fun so far.
yes. So let's talk about the gaming, since that's what we're here for. You have a YouTube channel, as you mentioned. You were just live streaming, called Brimley Gaming, and you actually have a nice audience. So when did you start the channel, and what drove you to creating it?
That is a great question. So yeah, with the first one, it was in April or May of 2020. And it was around the time I was still in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I started to realize that people have their own businesses doing things they love. And I haven't gotten nearly close to that yet, but that is the long-term goal, is to have a board game company and potentially make my own games. So just kind of discovering that other people had made a space for themselves doing things they love made me want to try to pull it off in the board game industry, and it's been a ton of fun so far.
So I have a follow-up question here. What's been a highlight of your channel? Have you done any like board game reviews? Has anybody approached you to like, feature their game? Anything like that?
Yeah, gotten to do some cool things with Grandpa Beck Games, who make Cover Your Assets and Skull King. Um, and one of the coolest things also was with another publisher, Dolphin Hat Games. I reached out to them pretty early on. Someone connected me to them, and I did a video on one of theirs, and it has over 100,000 views teaching how to play that game. So that's a big highlight of. I was not expecting that one to take off, but I'm definitely grateful that it did.
So I had a tweet that's totally unrelated to Lorcana, but it got over 10,000 likes on it. And I hate to say it, like it falls into that stereotype, but it was such a rush watching that number climb and climb. What was it like? Like, at what point were you like, oh my gosh, this thing is taking off, and how high could it go?
Yeah, so it's the interesting thing is with a lot of the content I make, it's kind of that evergreen. So it takes a long time to get there. Like I thought the video was a dud because for the first like 6 to 8 months, it had like 300 views on it. It was going nowhere. And suddenly it just started to pick up. And yeah, over time you start to see it 10,000, 20,000, and you start to see that, okay, this is getting views every single day and it's not slowing down anytime soon. So it definitely is that rush of like, this is just going to keep going. This is awesome.
Do, do you think it's did you track back to what had happened with the game itself, and like did it get distributed to like a big box store or reach a new major distributor to where it got a lot more eyeballs on the game, which meant eyeballs on your video?
So I don't know if there was any change in the number of games being purchased, but it's a pretty popular game. It's called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, and it was
We
the
played that
only.
game.
You like that one?
Oh yeah, our kids love it, except for the stupid narwhal.
Yep, I missed that
Anyway,
one every time.
carry on.
But anyways, the only other how to play video out there was the one by the publisher. And so it was, I think just over time, people started to watch the video and I realized that it was the number one in the search results. So it had bumped above theirs. And I think that's what caused the big spike in viewership was that was the number one thing that people were seeing when they searched how to play the game.
Awesome.
An algorithm, man.
Oh, yeah. Gotta rely on it and get some of that dumb luck.
So I'm pretty new to the gaming world. I mean, my wife and I, we have Skull King, we have Settlers of Catan, Ticket to Ride, but a lot of people say those are like gateway games. I hear people say tabletop gaming all the time, and sometimes like card games like Lorcana get lumped into that. But my question is, are board games and TCGs both a part of tabletop gaming? And what makes them like the same or what makes them different? If that question makes sense.
Yeah, that totally does, and I will do my best to answer that, being fairly new to TCGs. But from what I understand is that I would say that a trading card game fits into that tabletop gaming niche. It's a subset of that. And one of the things that I feel like is the most different, I guess there's two sides of it. Is the one is that there's that higher upfront cost for people in a trading card game as opposed to a board game. You go to the store, spend $20, and then you have the game forever. But then there's also on the other side of it, with a board game, you get what you get and you're stuck with it. But a trading card game, there's new cards coming out all the time. And even with the same cards you have, you get to be a part of creating that deck, of finding those things. And as someone who wants to be a game designer, that's something that intrigues me of I can take these pieces, fit them together, and find something that works. So that would be my answer to that question.
So you mentioned being new-ish. You've never actually gotten involved in a TCG before. So why are you starting with Lorcana, and what unique perspective do you think that you'll bring to the space with a completely board game background?
Yeah, so to be honest, when I first heard about Lorcana, I didn't really think much of the the trading card game name. I was just like, oh, cool, Disney card game, I'm in. And so it was after that that I started getting into the rabbit hole. But I think just from the get go, right from D23, when you see that art and you see those cards, and me having a background in Villainous, so because it's the same publisher with Ravensburger, I was like, okay, I trust this publisher. I love Disney. This card art is fantastic. I think this might be one that's going to be popping off, and it's been so fun to look into it ever since. So excited to dip my toes into the trading card games.
So many people say that same thing about the artwork, and it's true. Like the artwork is amazing. I mean, there are other card games coming out, and I've said this before. If the Lorcana art looked like the art for these upcoming card games, I don't know if I would play, like, to be honest. I know that sounds kind of shallow, but the artwork for Lorcana is just like James said once, there's no like bad Lorcana art. Like it's all great to amazing art.
Totally. I've been completely blown away where even like with the storyborn characters, like it feels different. Like it's the same character you know and love, but it's something new, and I love that. That's something that was intriguing to me from the beginning with Villainous, is that they kind of had their own art. Because as a board game collector, I have a lot of different Disney games, and there's a very distinct difference between the ones that have their unique art and the ones that have just a screenshot from the movie. And so that's something that it shows a lot of effort on their end, and it just feels different playing a game with fresh art.
Yeah, it's the influx of creativity into the characters and the designs, because you're getting a completely new perspective than the original artwork from all these artists that they've hired to create this art. It's just this whole addition, not just copy. They're adding more to it.
Yeah,
Totally.
when we were at Gamma, I stopped by the Jasco game booth. They're the ones that make My Hero Academia. As many of you know, that's the game I used to play before jumping on the Lorcana bandwagon. But one of the things that they said was that they were like contractually obligated to use screen captures from the TV series for the first like 4 or 5 sets, which I thought was interesting because I agree. When I see a game with screenshots, it just doesn't hit the same for me. But they said now they have the freedom to create their own art. And some of the art that they're creating looks really good. So you've mentioned a lot already how you play Villainous. What similarities do you see between Lorcana and Villainous, and what differences do you see?
Yeah, so the main similarity of what like really got me to try Disney Villainous is that Disney aspect. Like it was I've played a lot of Disney games and this was one that felt the most like I was actually getting into the story. And that's something that I see with Lorcana as well. I see that they're going to be very similar in it feels like we are jumping into this Disney universe, into these stories. And that's something that's super exciting for me. Now on the differences side, one of the things that I like didn't even think about, but now with the trading card game, like with a villainous, you're stuck with the one villain and their specific card set of 30 cards. And there's some good cards in there, there's some bad cards. And the only choice you have is which villain you're going to choose. But in Lorcana, I can say, you know what, I really like this character. And now I'm just going to find cards that work well with them. And then as you find that something doesn't work, throw it out and grab a new one. And that's something that is not present in traditional tabletop games that I'm really, really excited for with Lorcana.
Yeah, I can't wait to build like an Elsa deck or something like that, and then hopefully be able to use Kristoff and Olaf, and hopefully and Alana is coming and all that kind of stuff. But if not, oh well.
No, no, no. I have to interject here. James has these strange dreams of like playing a whole movie out through his cards.
Yeah, I want to
Like I
build
want
a
to get
deck to play a movie.
I want to get like Anna waking up in her bed, and then I want to get a card of her wearing a
I
dress
want them
before
to
the
make the
party.
kid cards, and then I want to be able to play like Elsa and Anna and certain like, and then like not play a character until they're introduced in the movie in order. You know, I can't
That
use
is
I can't
awesome.
I can't use Smash. I can't Marshmallow Smash anyone until Marshmallow shows up, later in the movie, and it's like, hey, if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. But I'll win a game doing that. I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna win a game doing that. I don't care what movie it is. I will make a movie deck.
Well, let's do it with Emperor's New Groove. That's one. There, Yzma's in there. I am so excited for that. Like, especially with Kronk. Like, there's so many versions. Shoulder Devil Kronk, Shoulder Angel Kronk, Chef Kronk. Like, I could go on and on about. I would love to make a Kronk deck. That's my dream with this one.
I don't know if all of them are going to show up in the first set, but hopefully within the first year we get like all those characters to be able to do something like that. That would be so cool. Oh man, I can't wait. See,
You guys are
this is
just
the
more
thing.
creative than me. I just
It's
want to
like
play the game.
all this influx of creativity from the game is letting us do all of this stuff with the game. It's awesome.
And it makes me want to like relive these Disney memories. Like when they recently released Sergeant Tibbs' card, I was like, I haven't wanted to watch 101 Dalmatians in years, and I was like, I actually like have a desire to go back and watch that movie and relive that story again because it's bringing those characters back up, and that's so cool.
Absolutely. In fact, after Lorcana was announced, um, I think we had started it earlier, but we got back onto our watching all Disney animated movies, and we're still stuck like somewhere in the middle in the 60s or early 70s. But I mean, we're getting through them all, and the impetus to get them done as fast as possible is I want to see the movies that all of these characters that I knew and know, but I want to revisit. And that's definitely one of the things is in watching these, like, oh, we got that card coming, and I'm like, oh no, we got that card for that character. So yeah, all of that stuff is really cool.
I purely watched Hercules yesterday because of Lorcana. I was just thinking about it. I was like, that's a really good movie. I should go watch it. And we did. And I'm somebody that rarely sits down and watches a movie. Like, I'll watch it if somebody else is watching it, but for me to do it myself, it's very rare.
Yeah, I'm excited to to just get back in this Disney universe more, and who knows, maybe we'll get some Lorcana TV shows on Disney Plus sometimes with these
That would
new
be amazing.
Now you're talking. Lorcana comic books, Lorcana TV shows,
Lorcana characters in Disneyland. Like there's
right?
so much we could do.
It's unlimited potential.
So let's talk about the reverse of that, of nothing, which is the Valley of No News, which is what we called the last month. So even with the no news, how, like, have you been hyped this entire time for the game? Do you feel your hype increasing or decreasing with the lack of news? Let's not count the last couple of days with the thing we got, but you know, do you think that, so first of all, let's talk about the hype. Do you think your hype is increasing or decreasing from, like I said, when you really just like saw it at D23 and you're like, let's go?
Yeah, so I feel like it ebbs and flows, but it's continually going up. So I found out about it right before D23, was super excited at the onset, and I saw that it was coming out in the next year, and I was like, okay, I'm excited, it'll come. I'm just gonna leave it be right now. Just occasionally looking for news, and then I really got into it when the rules dropped. Because that for me was like, I don't have a TCG background. I know people were like speculating from the beginning of like, oh, the Elsa card can do this and the Robin Hood card can do this. And I'm like, I don't have the rules. I'm not going there. So as soon as the rules dropped, found out it was a super simple game and just fell in love with the rules. I dove headfirst, found your guys' podcast, listened to a ton of podcasts, joined the Discord, just kind of went crazy with it. And even after that, like ebbs and flows, but since that huge release of the news and all those cards at the same time, I've been super hyped for it.
So speaking of the release of a bunch of cards and then the lack, do you think that we're going to, like, what do you expect for them to do from this point on? Not having a TCG background, what's something that you would expect to happen for the marketing? Just do you think the lack of news was just like a delay, or do you expect it to continue in some form, or are we now like on the path of increased marketing all the time?
That's a great question because I feel like I heard that they were saying they're going to put a lot of marketing force into it, and we're getting really close to release. So I would not be surprised if they start to release a little bit here and a little bit there. But for me personally, I kind of like when it's all in one. I that's like when the rules were released. It was just so much I could just go as deep as I wanted to, and that's something that builds hype for me. Where even getting them every so often, but if they do reveals together, that's one of the best things for me to build my hype.
Nice.
Well, tomorrow marks 49 days till Gen Con. I think those drums are just going to keep beating louder and longer.
I liken it to like this exponential growth. Like if you've ever been to a convention, a comic convention of any kind, or a gaming convention, you know, like if you get there super early and you're one of the first people in line, there's like someone will show up 5 minutes later, and 10 minutes later another person will show up, and then as you get closer to opening, all of a sudden 10 people are showing up every minute, and then 20 people are showing up every 2 seconds, and then 100 people are showing up every second until the opening of the doors. And it's just like this slow trickle that just slowly and exponentially increases until you get to that moment, and then there's this massive crowd. And I think that's what the marketing is going to be. I think we're going to get that slow bit, which has been the last 9 months or however long it's been since the announcement, and then it's just gonna that spike of on the graph is just gonna go straight up soon. And
I think mid-July it's going to be a frenzy.
Yeah, I think the pop culture world is dominated by Comic-Con in July, and I don't know if they're going to do anything then. It's really weird how that dominates a certain market of pop culture. So do they not care about that, and they'll just do whatever marketing they're going to do? Disney doesn't seem to care at all. It'll do whatever they want. So I think there will be some, but I think that for sure they're going to do something. It's just that there's that blip in the road of Comic-Con then taking over for a week and then getting back onto it, because Gen Con's like 2 weeks after Comic-Con. They have to do something before Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm shocked how many hardcore Disney fans don't know about Lorcana. Like a lot of people that I know, they love Disney and they have no idea when I tell them about Lorcana. So I think like you're saying, it's going to be that exponential growth once they start putting more advertising out there, once they start putting stuff in the parks, or Disney starts to throw out an email or put something on Disney Plus. Once you start getting those kind of things out there, they're going to have so many people flooding in. It's going to be fantastic.
This is why I tell people right now, call your game stores, get on the pre-order list because product is going to be in short supply once it drops.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get my hands on some of it, but I'm definitely excited for that wave two in Targets and Walmart Shop Disney. Like if I can't get into a game store, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to get some then. So I'm
Fingers crossed.
oh yeah, all the way.
Okay, so now we're going to transition into the not so fun topic. Of course, you've probably heard about the lawsuit. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've heard about the lawsuit alleging that while Ryan Miller was employed for Upper Deck, um, Ravensburger kind of was courting him to come over and work on a game and to bring the property. That's what Upper Deck is alleging. So, what are your thoughts about that? And again, just so everybody knows, we are not lawyers. Do not take our words as gospel truths. We're not experts. These are just merely our opinions. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, I am hoping as a deep Lorcana fan that there is nothing to the allegations. And I definitely see like two parts in the lawsuit. I definitely read all 19 pages of the lawsuit, had a fun time doing that. And the part that a lot of people are talking about that definitely scares me is the contracts. If there is something there that Ryan Miller signed and he was intending to copy the game, then we might see some trouble for Lorcana. But I also see the other side of the game doesn't seem that similar. So it doesn't seem to me like Ryan Miller took the game, went to Ravensburger and said, "Can we slap some Disney characters on this and we're good to go?" Like it seems like a fairly different game to me. I don't know what your thoughts are.
So, again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't fear for Lorcana. I think it's going to release on schedule. No problem. My fear is for Ryan. I mean, if they can prove that he breached the contract, there's 7 sets into design. I mean, there could be a world where he's the fall guy. Like for me, that's my biggest concern because I love Ryan, but I hope, I hope there's nothing there. I hope the Disney lawyers and the Ravensburger lawyers look at this lawsuit and tear it to shreds.
I hope so too, because yeah, I would not want the game that we love so much, who was created by Ryan. I don't want him to have to suffer anything for that because yeah, this game seems like it's going to be a huge part of our lives going forward, and I definitely hope that there's nothing bad for him going forward.
Unfortunately, it's just a wait and see because, as you mentioned, you can read the 19 pages, but it's mostly generalities and no real data. Like the contract is not included that he signed, so allegedly signed. So, I mean, we can't really make any decisions at all except for just having our opinions about how we feel about it. And there's, how you feel about it is not necessarily about what's going to happen. It's just, what our thoughts are. So I think it's just going to be a wait and see. And I agree that I don't think that there's going to be any issues with Lorcana coming out. But we'll wait and see exactly what happens over the next few months with the lawsuit and whether something happens to affect someone at Ravensburger or not.
Well, the thing we're looking for right now, and this is again from our friend on Twitter, Paul Lesko, if they want to stop Lorcana from coming out, they have to file an injunction, or what's the other one? A temporary restraining?
Yeah, like a
Something
TRO
like that.
or something.
That's right.
Something legal.
Legalese.
But from what he says, it's pretty hard to provide the evidence necessary to get an injunction. And if they're going to go that route, they have to go soon because, I mean, like we said, the game releases 50 days from the day of this recording. So, and nothing moves quickly in the legal system. So that's kind of what we're all looking for right now.
And Ravensburger doesn't even have to actually submit their response for a month. So
Yeah, I think it's like July 12th.
yeah, 1 month from when the date of the having been served document or whatever it is. So I mean, you know, they could reply like in the second week of July, and then everything just kind of moves slowly from there. I think that I saw someone mention a November date for like the first argument in front of a judge or whatever's happening is November is the earliest anything would happen if they don't get any injunctions or anything
Yeah.
filed or whatever they're getting filed. So we shall
We're already
see.
at that too.
Did you, Brandon? Did you happen to watch the Sports Cars Live podcast where the Upper Deck CEO was on there? And if so, what are your takeaways?
Yeah, so I first off, I was definitely a little bummed with how little they actually spoke about Lorcana. I think it was like a 2 hour and 20 minute live stream, and probably 15 to 20 minutes is about Lorcana.
And you had to
Um,
wait till an hour and 9 minutes before they actually talked about it. It's like every time he finished answering a question, like, okay, Lorcana, Lorcana, but no, he knew how to drag it on.
Yep, he's been doing it for a long time. I definitely had to chuckle as a fellow YouTuber of the fact that he put Lorcana lawsuit as the first part of the title and didn't get in there until more than halfway through the podcast. But overall, I definitely there wasn't much there, but I did find it interesting that he spoke so openly about how many other people they are suing. So I hope that bodes well for Lorcana, that maybe they're just a little trigger happy with the lawsuits and there's nothing there. But again, to James' point, we have no idea. We're just speculating based on the fact that we love Lorcana.
So what were your reactions, James?
I was in the middle of stuff and making dinner, so I was half paying attention, unfortunately. And like I had my phone out whenever I could, listening to it. And of course, it was going on about hockey and gems and and whatever other things that they were talking about. And so I didn't hear every little bit that they were saying, but based on what everyone said, I mean, I think that yes, they're just like doing this to I think they honestly I think they were never planning on pushing the game out on I mean just based on the few things that we do know that we can point to and say look they patented it or they trademarked it like in April. It's like why are you bothering to trademark it then if not 3-4 years ago when you started making it? It's like what are you doing? So just pointing to certain things. So I think it's just a business thing. I think the guy was like, you know, let me he's a CEO. He goes on these things. So he's obviously a charming, you know, guy who has a good screen presence and he knows how to talk. So I think that that's what he was presenting, making himself sympathetic and showing a good, you know, putting a good face forward. And I think we're just going to have to wait and see if it's more than just them seeing what they can do and, you know, throwing everything at the wall, seeing what sticks, and collecting on the whichever ones manage to stick.
No, I think my takeaways were kind of similar. Uh, and the way I put it is that he did a great job of humanizing this lawsuit. He brought up, we have a team that worked on this and they want to be the one responsible for bringing this game. It's like they have jobs, they have families. So bringing that human element into it, like you said, definitely made me more sympathetic to their cause. But the other thing that stood out to me was that he said that Rush of Icor was a carbon copy of Lorcana. And for me, like when you say carbon copy, that means like it's a 1-for-1. And like Brandon said already, there are enough differences. Like I'm sure if we looked at the game in totality, we'd be like, okay, that does look pretty similar. But if it's a carbon copy, then you should be able to take a Rush of Icor deck and a deck of Lorcana cards and be able to play them. And that's what I want to see. Like I really desperately want to see a Rush of Icor card. And if the game ever does hit the market, you better believe I'm going to buy it just to add to this piece of Lorcana history right here.
Yeah, that was definitely intriguing. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole lawsuit was reading the rules to Rush of Icor and kind of seeing like, oh, that's different, and that's different. So hopefully there's nothing there, because yeah, there's definitely similarities. It's a trading card game. The resource system is similar. The win condition is similar, but there were enough differences in my mind that it to me it seems like Ryan worked on Rush of Icor as well as the other TCGCs worked on. He came to do Lorcana, and obviously he worked on those other things. He didn't take Rush of Icor and say, slap Disney on it, we're good to go. It was, okay, what are we going to make for a trading card game? They start to throw ideas, and he's able to pull things from his past, from Rush of Icor and the other trading card games, and be able to make something that is brand new based on his experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say the thing that he's probably arguing as a carbon copy is that resource system along with the win condition of counting up. But I mean, even the resource system is different because in Lorcana, you can't ink. You can't put every single card in the card pool. Whereas in with Rush of Icor, you can. So I mean, even the things that are like a carbon copy have differences.
And the resource system with Lorcana, you choose one from your hand, but from how I read it with Rush of Icor, you just draw the top card of the deck and
That's
put it
right.
in the resource. So there's definitely differences, and I definitely thought it was interesting that from what I read about the Star Wars Unlimited game, it seems like that has the same resource system. So like it's not a super differentiating thing in my opinion, but we'll have to wait and see.
Wait and see.
Again, we are not lawyers, but I agree. In the Lorcana
Guilty.
HQ Discord,
I don't
there's
know.
a user, Captain Octotroph. I think that's how you pronounce it. Is that how you pronounce it, James?
It's either Octotroph or Octotroph. That's right.
Yeah.
So
But he put together a document where it lists all the similarities and differences, and like it's pretty evident that it's not the same game. Like maybe it looks the same, maybe it feels like it plays the same, but there's enough differences there that it is not a carbon copy.
Totally. Yeah. Even like the challenging and attacking, like, yes, you have to like exert or whatever they call it to be able to be vulnerable to attack. But in Rush of Icor, you just take the stats, and whichever is the lowest gets banished, let's say in Lorcana terms, and the other one stays on the board. There's no damage dealt. So there's definitely a lot of differences in there that I was able to see, which makes me excited.
All right. I think you answered this already, but let's just get it on the record. Gut reaction question here. Do you think this lawsuit leads to no Lorcana at Gen Con?
No, I definitely think that Lorcana will be at Gen Con.
Yeah, I do too.
no, well, Jared answered this one already. He's going to pick up Rush of Icor or Iker or whatever it is when it's released. What about you? Would you pick some up? Give it a try?
So it definitely was a little bit intriguing when I started to read the rules, and I think that leads me to think that it's kind of like a way of them like leaking the rules out, just throw it out there and then we all start talking about it. But I don't, with how much it's going to cost for a trading card game and how much I want to be able to play Lorcana. Lorcana might be my one and only trading card game.
Well, look,
And
I'm not saying I'm going to get competitive in Rush of Icor, but if I see a starter deck come out, I'm going to buy it.
Jared, so
Like I
help
cannot.
win the world championship for Rush of Icor in a few years.
Yeah, pretty soon I'll have a Citizens of Icor podcast.
There you go.
I'm going to be like, he's going to be, what are we going to call him? We're going to call him Icernauts. He's going to be the lead Icernaut of the Rush of Icor gaming.
Jared and the Icernauts.
There
Right.
you go. There's your band name.
I think that's enough. That's enough lawsuit talk.
Yes.
We made it as fun as we could. Because it is not fun. Let's talk about our newest segment, the Lorcana Lexicon. And this week, what do we have for what does this mean?
So the Lorcana lexicon for the week is a term called top decking. I'm curious, Brandon, you've never played trading card games before. Well, to be fair, you did tell me before that you played like a baseball trading card game, but do you know what the term top decking means?
Top decking. I think isn't that where you're kind of just have no cards in your hand and you're drawing the top one, and hoping that that's the one that you need.
That's exactly right.
Ooh.
Or, I mean, another usage of it is like you might have cards in your hand, but you don't have the answer. Like if you needed a board wipe, for example, you're hoping to top deck the board wipe. Yeah. So
And then
good job.
and then your deck says consider the coconuts. And then you're not very happy about it. Oh man.
All right. Should we go into the news roundup?
So the news we were talking all about last week about the lack of news. And then this week, after the lawsuit, we got good news, and that was some card reveals. Now, I think it was basically 1 2/3, because we got the remaining of 2 cards with Timon and Iago were both fully revealed in Lorcana HQ server. Now, why, Jared? Why did they feel the need to share these cards in the Lorcana HQ Discord server?
Is there an answer for that, or is this
There
we're
is. It
speculating?
involves meme day, because
So,
what I mean, it just all of a sudden the other morning became meme day. Brandon,
so
the other Brandon, right?
So yeah, so in this server, there's another Brandon. He goes by B squared because his first and last name are B. But he had said he put up a post. He said Ravensburger employees watching the memes tomorrow. And so the Team Lorcana account came into the Discord and said, please make this happen. So, something like that. So Brandon was like, all right, everybody, tomorrow, June 13th, is going to be Lorcana Meme Day. Everybody make memes. We're going to post it on Twitter. We're going to do it at 9 o'clock Pacific time. And we're just going to flood Twitter with memes.
And people did. And it was awesome. And then like a short time later, Team Lorcana in the Discord posted, they're like, hey, we loved all the memes. And they posted one of the cards, Timon. And then a few minutes later, they're like, oh, wait, you asked for 2 cards. And then they posted the Iago. And then on one of the memes, on Adara's tweet, one of her tweets with a meme, they just replied to it and just boom, revealed the genie. Brand new card. Not even a full post anywhere, not revealed anywhere else, just in a reply to one of the people who tweeted out a meme. And so let's talk about this card, this genie card that is Emerald. So we finally got a new Emerald card, Genie on the Job. It's a Storyborn 6 cost uninkable with 3 strength and 4 willpower, 2 lore, and it has evasive. And the keyword disappear. When you play this character, you may return chosen character to their player's hand. This is a pretty cool card.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Mr. New to TCGs has to say about this card.
Well, first off, I just absolutely love that we're getting Genie. It's so cool seeing all these characters, and that was my first thought, was just excited to see the Genie. I definitely though like that he's got 2 lore there. I think that that's going to be a really nice ability to be able to put him out there, but he's got that 4 willpower. I think it was Lorcana Cast that was talking about how that 4 willpower is a hard spot to knock out. So maybe Genie can be a late game ability to get 2 lore a couple times and win the game.
To be fair, though, that 4 defense willpower is a tough one to knock out in the beginning part of the game. By the time you're laying down 6 drop cards, that's not a huge number. I have mixed feelings about this card. I want to love it. I do love it, but I don't know if I love it enough to put 4 copies in. To me, this seems like a 2 copy card, because if you're at the point where you're playing 6 drop cards and you can disappear one of your opponent's main threats, like if you get Genie out there and you get rid of Mickey Brave Little Taylor, or you get rid of Aladdin Outlaw, or any one of these guys, even for a turn, that can switch momentum so fast. And then the fact that he has evasive makes it that he's going to be hard to get rid of.
Yeah. I mean, he's awesome. I think he's going to be awesome. I think the uninkable part is how is an indication of how awesome he is.
Yeah.
Because they did say that they took away the ability to be inked when they knew the card was going to be good or powerful.
If it was inkable, this would be an auto 4 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually this is going to be an easy 3 in the deck. Just not just one shy, just so you can do it as many times as possible late in the game. If you're pulling this thing later, I mean, obviously you just get rid of it in the mulligan. You're going to put it away. You're going to wait and hope you pull it later in the game, be able to get it out. And like you said, getting rid of their key cards back into their hand and slowing them down and getting the advantage back if you're behind, or nailing the coffin, the nailing the lid down in the coffin to finish that game out. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So obviously one card does not make an entire deck, but I think this one card is going to be very good to put together into a deck. And I think that this is indicating that there are going to be so many cool cards that we still haven't seen, because they have so many different ways that they can combo different abilities and ideas onto these cards, with, again, like you said, throwing evasive on this thing. So not only do you get rid of something when you get it out, but this thing then becomes harder to get rid of, and you get that 2 lower every time.
Any final thoughts, Brandon?
No, just excited that Lorcana's back. Just excited stuff. And I actually am a really big fan of the fact that they're putting it in the Discord or on someone's tweet, because I think it then can show them on the back end, like, hey, you don't have to post it on the main thing. We're all watching. We're all gonna share it. It's gonna get out there. So I think that's awesome that they feel that they're able to do that.
And then we also, late in the day today, had an actual out to everyone tweet, and it was the first of their artist spotlights, and they were covering Nicholas Cole. They linked to his Instagram, and then they included 3 tweets after doing a short Q&A with Nicholas Cole, which is really cool. And I loved his answer for describing a Dreamborn that you want to design, and he picked Powerline.
Powerline.
Oh, that would be so cool. But yes.
So I have a question for you both on that. Do you think his answer means that he has already designed it and we might be getting it soon? Or do you think it's he wants to design it at some point, we'll see it 6-7 sets down the road?
I am like 99.9% sure it means that he hasn't designed it yet.
Yeah.
Because I think this was like, it's a perfect chance for them to go outside of what they've already done, because they have an NDA on everything they have done. So they can't talk about it. I mean, obviously Disney Lorcana pushed it out so they can talk about it, but I think that it was like the kind of thing where, like, let's reach for something that you haven't done yet.
And the other thing too, I know this is a big topic of debate, but a Goofy movie isn't technically a Walt Disney Animated Studio movie. It was made by the Disney cartoon movies or something like that. Disney television movies.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that we never see a Goofy movie. We just have to see how lenient they are on their
say
license.
Never say never.
Okay, I take that back.
All right.
There's a possibility we don't see it for a long time.
Okay. I don't mind that, because there's so many other things that we can see until then, but we better be getting some Powerline and some Goofy movie stuff. Come on.
Yep. And some Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and some Darkwing Ducks.
Exactly.
And all that good stuff. DuckTales.
Speaking of, did you get the Goofy movie game, Brandon? Have you gotten that one yet?
Not gotten that one yet. I've seen it a couple times, but I have not. Have you played that one?
No, I've almost pulled the trigger a few times, but I'm like, I have a few games I haven't played yet, so I have to wait until I can have the time. So I don't want to buy it and have it sit on the shelf for a year or whatever. So I've held off. But I've
done that many times. So I'm in the same boat as you. I'm getting closer and closer to, I want to play a game or see it played before I buy it, at least most of the time, because I have way too many of those on my shelf of shame that have not been played.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Disney stuff, what's next?
Disney Jeopardy. Yeah. And I already asked Brandon if he would be a willing participant of Disney Jeopardy, and he is willing and excited.
I am so pumped.
Okay. I think I got some tough questions. Did you read through these, James?
I'm just looking at them now. They look pretty good.
Okay.
Hit
So,
me.
and you know how to play, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for 100, this is the name of the accident-prone ant in a bug's life.
Who is Flick?
Ding, 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 ding. All right, 1 for 1. This is the name of the man who created Pinocchio in the movie Pinocchio.
Who is Geppetto?
Ding, 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 ding. Boy, maybe I chose easy questions.
You always got to
You
start
know,
off.
like being on this, it is so stressful already. Like, am I remembering this right? Like, the stress is real. This is awesome.
This was the original name for 300. This was the original name of Mickey Mouse.
And his wife made him change it.
Oh, I don't know. I have a thought. I don't know if this is right. But I'm gonna go. Who is Mortimer Mouse?
That's it.
Nice.
Ding, 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 ding. Could you imagine? I don't think Mortimer Mouse would have taken off like Mickey Mouse.
No,
Not at all.
that is definitely an early 20th century name, though.
All right, for 400. This is the name of the bird in the movie Up.
Who is Kevin?
Oh, 4 for 4. Okay. Great job.
Thank you.
This is the tough one.
Yeah, this is going to be hard.
In Toy Story, where does Buzz say he was stationed before joining Woody and company?
Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna get it exactly, but is it like Gamma Quadrant of Sector 4, something like
Holy
that?
Are you
cow.
serious?
Let's
That's
go.
exactly what it is. Oh my gosh.
I don't know how I pulled that one out.
I never would have gotten that.
I would have been like, space?
I might try
How?
to get back to Buzz's monologues and
Wow, that's awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
5 for 5. You might be our first guest that's gone 5 for 5.
I think so.
That makes me really excited. Yeah, we love Disney, a lot of Disney trivia. I have a Disney Trivial Pursuit, so
I got to
fun.
get that and just read the cards. You know,
I think you guys could use those for the Jeopardy. Just read a card and there you go.
There we go.
Those
Yeah,
are all
I need to
hard
get-
though. Sometimes though, a lot of those are hard. So
That's true. And I think it was made in like 2000. So it's only the old Disney ones.
oh, okay.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Brandon. Let's wrap this up. If people want to find you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, so the main place would be on YouTube. It's Brimley Games, and then pretty much everywhere else at Brimley Games on Twitter, Instagram, all the above. And as Jared mentioned, we played a game of Lorcana on there, and there's more Lorcana content coming soon. So be sure to check it out there.
When I've subscribed to your channel and I've watched a lot of your how to play videos, and they're just really well done and easy to follow. So I definitely recommend people go check out your channel. So if you liked what you heard, you can subscribe to our podcast. You can follow us here on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere online at Dan Regal, and every week up until San Diego Comic-Con, I'll be live on the SD Concast. And you can also check out geekshotphoto.com for links for my wife and I and our photography and social media and all that. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us, and thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.